Hey everybody, Ronan Powell here again. I want to talk very briefly about how do you know when you're actually going through to your next level. So how do you know when you're about to break through a ceiling? Because very often people mistake the sensations that precede a breakthrough with something that's scary and wrong and bad for them. So just before you break through to something, you're going to experience some scary stuff. And it's usually in the form of an emotion, some fears, some limiting beliefs. It's going to feel like some sort of a loss, even like you're leaving something behind, maybe even a death, like you're going into a rebirth of some sort. Big words, strong words, but symbolically they're true. So when there's a ceiling and you want to break through that ceiling, the ceiling is simply resistance. So how do you know when you're encountering resistance that's useful or encountering resistance that's the wrong path for you? So I want to talk about patterns. And let's take an example. The best way to talk about patterns is an example. So I've been working with clients for years. We've been eliciting and discovering their patterns, the ones that hold them back, and using them in a new way to propel them forward. So an example would be, let's go back to childhood, right? Let's say young Bobby, right? Let's say there's a kid, their name is Bobby, and they're in school and they want to go and play. No, they want to go and read a book, right? They don't want to go and play. They want to go, they want to sit inside and they want to read books. And they want to spend their entire playtime reading books. And so when it comes to playtime, the teacher goes, "Hey, Bobby, go outside. You got to go out and play." And Bobby says, "I don't want to go out and play. I want to read some books." And the teacher says, "No, Bobby, you got to go out and play. It's a healthy thing to do. And you know, it's not right to be sitting inside all day." And Bobby says, "No, I want to stay here. I want to read some books. I want to go to the library." And so the teacher then, grabs Bobby and pushes Bobby out and says, "Go out and play. You got to go out and play. You can't be staying inside all day." And so Bobby gets really upset and goes out into the school playground. And let's say starts a fight with somebody, gets really upset and hits somebody or pulls somebody's hair or whatever happens. And the teacher runs out, goes berserk, goes crazy at Bobby, saying, "Bobby, what are you doing? I said just go out and play, not go out and beat everybody up or whatever." And so the teacher grabs Bobby, brings Bobby back inside and says, "Go into that classroom there, sit there and stay quiet for the next half an hour, no talking." Bobby walks into the classroom, sits down, looks around the classroom, surrounded by books. So Bobby has learned that my goal was to be in the library reading. The external world said I can't have it, I've got to do this, I've got to go play, I've got to do X, Y, and Z. But then when I got angry and got violent, I ended up with what I wanted. So the brain fired. Bobby could be 10 years old, 8 years old, 6 years old. So the brain has just fired a neurological connection. So, you know, neurons that fire together, wire together. So the neurons that fired were a desire, and then some behaviors, and then a goal. And they all wired, it worked out for Bobby, so they wired in that way. A message was given to the unconscious mind. It was downloaded into the unconscious mind as a successful outcome. And so that's a pattern that Bobby had. Bobby will then run that pattern again, maybe that night at home with the parents, or you know, in the weeks to come with friends and various other people. The more successful the pattern is, the more Bobby will run that pattern, the more it wires into Bobby's unconscious mind. That's a pattern. That could manifest later on in life when Bobby wants to get what Bobby wants. And so for all of us, it could manifest as something. Personally, for me, I've had to come to terms with experiencing my mind racing. So, you know, just before a breakthrough, my mind would race, and I used to think, wow, that's kind of crazy, what's going on here? And so now when I see the pattern, I know there's a breakthrough coming, which is the flip, right? So very often people experience the pattern and they're taken by it. They don't know how to channel it or what's going on. But actually, when you become aware, and that's the operative term, when you become aware of the pattern, you can actually use it. And so if you understand what your patterns are, it takes a little bit of awareness about yourself and who you are, and it takes a lot of self-acceptance to actually find what they are and to use them. They can be changed, by the way. Patterns can become debilitating after a while. They can actually become counterproductive, usually when we get into adulthood. If Bobby was in a corporate environment, that pattern is not going to work for too long before Bobby gets in trouble, or Bobby doesn't get promoted anymore, or Bobby goes into business and it doesn't work in business. So, but that's a very important thing to understand about. If you're going to break through, there is a ceiling to break through. That ceiling is resistance. Wherever you've experienced resistance before in your past, you've developed patterns. Right, wrong, good, bad, not interested in those terms. They're patterns. And the key is becoming aware of the patterns that you are being run by. Unless you're consciously running yourself, at least start to understand your patterns for real, know what they are. And once you understand what they are, it's about becoming aware of them and then starting to use them and channel them the way you want. Hope that helped, and if you liked it, make some comments below, and I look forward to chatting again soon. Look out for another video tomorrow. Cheers.